Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today we'll be talking a little bit about the box office and a major summer release being moved up on HBO Max and its theatrical. But before we dive into that, please be sure to smash the like button, smash the rumble button if you're watching over there. Also, please follow me over on Minds, as it is now my central hub for social media posting. I maybe retweet every now and then on Twitter, but I am focusing most of my attention over here onto Minds. It is a cool place to be. It's where all of the cool kids are, and things are looking pretty cool. I'm already up to 837 followers over there, and it is a lot of fun. So go ahead and join the party over on Minds. Anyways, let's go dive into the box office, as the box office continues to be incredibly slow for American movies, especially abroad, though I'm sure that many people in the media will try and continue to spin it as, well, we all know it's because of COVID and because of this or that, and obviously those are legitimate reasons and concerns, but it's also because no one is really wanting to go see these movies because they're not that great. So let's go ahead and dive first into the movie Soul. As it says here from Deadline, in studio play, Disney Pixar Soul continued its strong run in China, dropping just 39% from last weekend. It's now the third highest grossing Pixar release of all time in the Middle Kingdom, with an estimated $43.1 million. That would be impressive if it wasn't in a communist regime. Good for you, Soul. And again, I think Soul is a pretty good film. In total, the Pete Docter original added $5.8 million in 11 markets this session, and is cumulative of $57.4 million overseas. Remember that this film was released for free on Disney Plus here stateside, and has not made really anything when it comes to a domestic total, which means so far the only amount of money it's made is $57.4 million, and this film costs a pretty penny to make, meaning that this film is likely going to be a massive box office flop if these numbers hold on. It might be impressive that they're making that much money in China, but remembering that the studios do not make a whole lot from their money, or from the money that they make in China, because the Chinese Communist Party takes most of the money, really isn't all that impressive. So good job, Disney, putting all of that money and all that focus into a Chinese market that is going to take most of your money, and not focus it here in the United States and opening up theaters and putting out your movies into theaters, trying to get things back rolling here and trying to help the economy, especially those poor movie theaters that you are solely helping to destroy with your friends in big government who are shutting them down. It goes on to say that the holds were strong in Taiwan, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Singapore, and next weekend it'll see further openings in Russia and Korea, though I don't think it'll do all that well in either location in comparison to other places in the world, only because we obviously are in the midst of a pandemic. It goes on to say Warner Brothers Wonder Woman 1984 crossed $100 million this week. It added $5.2 million from 41 markets. Wait a minute. You're telling me that Soul added $5.8 million from 11 markets, while this film added just 5.2, and they came out, I think, around the exact same time? Oh boy. That is not looking good for Wonder Woman 84, which makes a lot of sense because the movie is pretty much just trash. It went on to say that its current session to bring the offshore cumulative to $105.9 million, and therefore $141.7 million worldwide, as the film is barely making any money here stateside, with it having a mostly HBO Max release. But as we all know, Warner Brothers, AT&T are not going to really release those numbers, at least not to any clear evidence, at least not clearly enough for us to know for sure whether there's evidence to suggest that this film has made money or not. But of course, that is the whole point. The Gal Gadot star officially bowed in Russia this frame, following previews last week, and grossed $2.6 million at the number 2 spot behind Disney's local sequel, The Last Warrior: Roots of Evil, which made $24.5 million through Saturday. Russia's cinemas are operating at 25% seating capacity. And yet a film called The Last Warrior made $24.5. I understand that that is a local film, but the fact that you have a major film like Wonder Woman only making $2.6 million compared to $24.5 million when you are at 25% capacity, to me, speaks volumes as far as the film is concerned. Australia had a strong hold on Wonder Woman 84 with a 31% drop from last weekend to cum to $16.1 million. It honestly seems to me that Australia is so far the best showing for this movie, which I don't know how much that says about a country that is mostly upside down. Much love to my Australia brothers and sisters out there. And Brazil also held well with a 32% drop for $5.4 million to date. Warner Brothers plans to release a number of smaller markets in the coming weeks, with the remaining majors currently on hold due to COVID restrictions. And by the time it does go out to those major partners and major players, no one's going to have any interest in this film, or will have already seen it by HBO Max or via piracy, showing us very clearly that this marketing campaign has been in complete and utter failure and will continue to fail going forward. So diving further into those numbers, so remember this chart we've talked about before on the channel. You can find this over on my website, ombreviews.home.blog, under box office tracking. So Wonder Woman, after its first 2 weeks in theaters, had $118.5 million. Soul had $47.3 million, and I had the projections of what I thought the films would actually make. In the end, though, the range for the loss of each movie was between, for Wonder Woman 84, $198.4 million loss, to at best $157 million loss, with, of course, the loss for Soul being $184 million loss, to at best being $168 million loss. It looks to me like Wonder Woman is doing worse than expected, currently with a negative $214.9 million, meaning that it is a $214.9 million loss, all the while Soul is actually making its way forward, having now made $57.4 million worldwide, with only being a loss of around $190.5, meaning it's getting very close, and I would imagine in the next week or two will probably already be past the minimum, or rather really the most loss, the biggest loss that it could see, putting it somewhere in the middle between the worst case scenario and the best case scenario, which to me, again, it's going to be a financial loss. It's not very good. However, the film itself is actually, I think, worth your time. Not everyone agrees with me on that point, but I do want to say that it's sad to see a film like that do very poorly, and I think it actually could have done relatively well had, of course, Disney had the cojones to put their film out in theaters here in the United States. And I think really honestly that the African-American community would have really showed up for this movie and would have actually really helped this film's domestic numbers. But again, you made your bed with China, Disney, and now you, of course, are paying the price. What is interesting to me, though, is we have another massive box office movie that, remember, is going to HBO Max at the same time as it's being released in theaters. And if Wonder Woman is any indication, is likely going to be another massive loss for the HBO Warner Brothers AT&T brand. The fact that you have one film already that has lost over $200 million, and you've already had other films this year not do nearly as well as it should, right? Tenet itself lost around, $45 million or so? No, sorry, that wasn't the film. $89 million was the film. Was the amount of money that Tenet lost for Warner Brothers. Again, a number that they could probably make up with different deals that they might have, and maybe with 4K and Blu-ray sales over time. $214 million, not nearly as, surmountable. You have this film right here in Godzilla vs. Kong, which I will be doing box office tracking for, which again is another $100+ million budget film. And now they're moving this up in the year, which I don't really know if that's going to be a good idea for them or not, because it means that you're going to have less theaters open in March than you might have had later in the summer. And it's going to, I think, be a really bad move on their part. But as you can see, Godzilla vs. Kong has now jumped its release up to March for both HBO Max and its theatrical release. It says here that Warner Brothers, in the wake of making good with Legendary on the simultaneous release of Godzilla vs. Kong in theaters and on HBO Max, will be releasing the movie on March 26th instead of May 21st. As I said, I think it probably would have been a better idea if their mindset was to get this out into more available theaters to wait until the 21st of May. But then again, it is just glad to see, and I'm just glad to see that movies are going to be released regardless. However, not going to lie, would not be surprised if Godzilla vs. Kong got delayed after this being moved up. It was reported last Friday that Warner Brothers and financier Legendary, which owns a majority of the movie, avoided a legal entanglement over the former decisions to take its entire 2021 slate and throw it day and date on its Frosh streaming service, HBO Max. Warner's had blocked a $200 million bid by Netflix to acquire the Monster Mash movie, which, let's just be honest, may have been the better path going forward and may have actually resulted in a better and higher net gross, because remember that $200 million would have been raw cash, which they would not have had to split with other countries or with any movie theaters. A settlement over whether Denis Villeneuve's Dune goes theatrical and HBO Max date is still being hashed out between Warner Media and Legendary. That movie currently has a slate of October 1st for its release date. Godzilla vs. Kong will look to see some dough from those Asian markets that are open, particularly China. The last movie, King of the Monsters, didn't do so hot stateside with $110 million, but it fared better abroad with $276.1 million for a total of $386.6 million. And so now you're telling me they're releasing this movie earlier, After the first film, which in my opinion was not very good, rather the second film in that franchise, which really was not all that great in Godzilla King of the Monsters, was set to make $386.6 million that year. We already have seen that every market is down. This would not include the $110 million stateside because it's going to get HBO Max released first. I don't think it's going to make any money in theaters once it's actually, it releases in theaters and HBO Max at the same time. And we've already seen that Wonder Woman is doing no money whatsoever, and that was already a very large major property. So if it didn't do well the first time, it's probably going to do even worse. $50 million, maybe half of what it did beforehand, we could probably guess. It probably will make half of what it made overseas, meaning that this film is probably set to make around $200 million or so, which, oh, wait a minute, is exactly what Netflix offered to pay for it. Ooh, choice isn't looking all too good right now. Oh, but we're gonna get those nice and sweet, HBO Max subscriber numbers. All the while you're giving out money that you don't have to a wide variety of places, and something that I've already talked about on the channel. If you want to hear how bad things can honestly get, it says the fourth legendary monster movie after Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, and King of the Monsters costs a reported $200 million. Backed 75% by Legendary, and it's directed by Adam Wingard and written by Terry Rossio. $200 million this film cost. Now, Legendary is going to take the vast majority of this financial loss. So Warner Brothers and HBO, they might be okay in this. They might actually come out mostly unscathed because the vast majority of the money being lost is not going to be theirs. But this is still, I think, a very clear indication that the box office is not anywhere near being ready and might not be for some time. Just something I thought I should cover because I know a lot of people are looking forward to this movie. When I did my most anticipated list, I saw a lot of people put their list in the comments, and this film came up a lot. I'm not all that excited just because I've seen their track record. I actually really liked the first Godzilla film they made back in 2014. I thought that was really good. Skull Island was complete and utter garbage. King of the Monsters was also not that great. It was better than Skull Island, but it was not all that great. And this film, to be honest, based on the trailers that I've seen, just looks like it'll be a giant CGI mess. And if it suffers from the same problems that King of the Monsters did and focuses more on uninteresting human stories instead of the fighting monsters, it could follow the same fate in underperforming in a wide variety of ways. Because remember, King of the Monsters was not a financial success, and the fact that they even went ahead to greenlight another production, or at least kept the production going in the first place on a sequel to that one, oh boy. I don't know what financial decisions they're making over at AT&T, Warner Brothers, or at Legendary. Things are not looking all that great, which makes me very concerned that Dune might actually also meet the same fate as well, because even though it's going to get a much later release date this year, if the marketplace is not ready for theaters, if not ready for movies to be coming back in theaters, especially here stateside, and this HBO Max model seems to be a complete and utter failure, especially since they're not making much money anywhere, including overseas, who knows exactly how they're going to be able to remain afloat at this point. But anyway, those are my thoughts on this. Let me know your thoughts about this. Do you think that Godzilla versus Kong will be a financial success? I have me doots. And what are your thoughts about the fact that Wonder Woman is continuing to flounder, while even though Soul is doing maybe a little bit better because it costs a little bit less, and so therefore it'll be less of a financial loss, is still not doing nearly all that well with no American release whatsoever, and a free Disney Plus release, of course, being very apt for piracy, etc. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash the like button, smash the rumble button. If you're watching over there, also smash the like button if you're watching over on Minds. I do post these videos to alternate YouTube platforms, so if you're done with censorship, if you are done with the YouTube platform, you have Rumble as an option. You also have Minds as an option as well. So please drop a like over there. And also, if you have any coins over on Minds, any crypto that you've been gaining from interacting with people on Minds, because you do get free crypto, free coins, free currency over there, if you interact with and post comments and engage, hey, consider donating to this video as well. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Again, follow me over on Minds for more conversation. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my January 2021 Patreon and Subscribestar members: Albertus Magnus, Ali C83, Andrew Hoyle, Animation Commentator Brian P, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, J, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Garney, Laura Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his beautiful twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, On to June, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B. Thank you very much for being my Patreon members. And also a huge shout out to my Subscribestar peeps, Stan 4, John B, Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888-209 Fast, Dean Heiss, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nevadan G. Adams, and ZK Man. You guys are all freaking amazing. Thank you so very much for being supporters. If you want your name shouted out, please consider joining on Patreon, where for $1 a month, you can get your name shouted out at the end of every single video and live stream. For $5 a month, you get access to that, and also you get access to exclusive giveaways, where I give away 4Ks, Blu-rays, digital codes, etc. $10 a month will get you all that, plus also access to a special podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. Lots of fun. We do Q&As from that as well, so you get access to asking those Q&As, asking us any wide variety of questions. And for $25 a month, you get all of that stuff, plus you get to be featured once a month on the Chosen of Valhalla live stream. And also for that first month, you get a free t-shirt shipped anywhere throughout the world. So if you want to consider any of those things, please check out the links in the description below, where you can find my Subscribestar and Patreon, and also other ways to support the channel. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.